Hey, what's going on, guys, and welcome to Coming Soon. This week we're going to be talking about a Japanese game making its way over to North America, Dragon Quest Heroes, The World Trees Woe, and The Blight Below. Now, if you guys haven't watched one of my other Coming Soon episodes before, then basically my goal here is to help you see one way or another if this is a game you're interested in, by giving you an overview of the story, gameplay, multiplayer, extras, and systems, before winding down with some of my predictions about the game, what the community is saying about the game, and then wrap it up with my overall thoughts. Also, an important thing to note about this game is that it's technically out right now in Japan, and that gave me a lot of information about the game, but this episode is strictly pertaining to its North American release. The story begins with Lucius and Aurora, the two main protagonists, attending a festival which is held in Elsiza, I think is how you say it. I'm probably going to mess up on a lot of names, so you're probably going to have to bear with me here, I apologize. Once a year. While the festival is in full swing, the main antagonist of the game, Helmet, unleashes a dark spell which turns all the monsters in the world against the humans they once knew peace with. Lucius and Aurora decide that they must see what is causing this chaos and bring it to an end. Along the way, they'll meet several new faces and many returning characters, each with different agendas, that will join their hunt to defeat the evil Helmet. Beyond that, I didn't see much info about the actual story of the game, and seeing that I don't speak Japanese, most of the things that were going on between characters and gameplays kind of flew right over my head. And now on to the gameplay. Dragon Quest Heroes is a very combat-heavy game and is developed by Omega Force, the same people behind the Dynasty Warriors series and the more recent Hyrule Warriors game. And this game will share many similarities to those titles. Combat mainly centers around your characters working together and taking on hordes of baddies in order to achieve a certain objective which, from the gameplay that I've seen, usually entails either the closing of several portals to the monster realm or taking on a big boss. Skills used during combat will vary depending on what character you have chosen at the time. There will be a total of 12 playable characters in the game, with the allowance of 4 in your party at any given time during the main campaign. These characters include Lucius, the main male protagonist. I believe Lucius is a new character for this game, and he, alongside Aurora, will be the first characters you get in the game. Lucius fights with a sword and shield, and he seems to be a pretty balanced character. Aurora is the main female protagonist, and I believe Aurora is also a new character for this game, and she, alongside Lucius, will be the first characters you get in the game. Aurora fights with a rapier and shield, and she seems to be pretty balanced as well, if not a bit more focused on quick attacks. Doric is the quote-unquote mighty monarch. I believe Doric is also a new character for Dragon Quest Heroes, but unlike Lucius and Aurora, he will not be available straight from the beginning. Doric fights with a large staff that has clubs on either end of it and seems to be your standard high-health, low-speed strongman. Isla is the quote-unquote inventress and engineer. Isla is the final new character being introduced for the game, and like Doric, she will not be available from the start of the game. Isla fights with a large boomerang and seems to be heavily reliant on distance from her opponents. Elena is the quote-unquote tomboy traversina, I don't know how to say it, and I'm going to mess up on another word here in a second. Elena is a returning character from Dragon Quest IV, in which she was the princess of Zamoxava, who dreamt of being the strongest fighter alive. Elena fights with only her fists and feet, and seems to be a pretty speedy melee tank. KingRazzel is the quote-unquote priest and protector. KingRazzel is a returning character from Dragon Quest IV as well, in which he was a priest who was very loyal to Elena. KingRazzel fights with a spear and seems to be a good support character. Maya is the quote-unquote dazzling dancer, the third character returning from Dragon Quest IV, and in that game was a dancer who, along with her sister, were seeking to avenge their father. Maya fights with some sort of geisha fans and seems to attack in quick combos. Bianca is the quote-unquote ardent archer. Bianca is a returning character from Dragon Quest V, in which she played the role of the hero's childhood friend and possible party member. Bianca fights with a bow and arrow, which seems to put her as a ranged ally. Nira is the quote-unquote magical maiden. Nira is also a returning character from Dragon Quest V, in which she was a possible party member and a member of an elite family. Nira fights with magic, and her attacks seem to span large distances. Yangus is the quote-unquote legendary bandit-turned-hero. Yangus is a returning character from Dragon Quest VIII, in which he was, just as his name suggests, a bandit who turned good. Yangus fights with a battle axe, and he appears to be another tankish character, perhaps with a bit more speed and less reach than Doric. Jessica is the quote-unquote whip-wielding warrior woman. Jessica is also a returning character from Dragon Quest VIII, in which she was a possible party member and a skilled fighter with the whip and offensive magic. Jessica fights with the whip and seems to have relatively slow attacks that cover good distances. And finally, we have Terry, who is quote-unquote the solitary swordsman. Terry is a character from Dragon Quest VI, in which he was a powerful swordsman who traveled the world in search of powerful weapons. Terry, of course, fights with a sword and shield, and seems to fight very similar to the main protagonist Lucius, if not a bit slower and stronger. These are the total 12 playable characters in the game, and at any time during the main campaign, as stated, you'll be able to have 4 of them in your party. While these characters are in your party, you'll have the ability to switch between them at any time during combat by hitting L2. Each character has a specific skill set and will have different uses in combat. Each character will also have their own level and their own set of skill points that the player can apply to wherever he or she chooses. As to what skills you can spend your skill points on, let's refer to the screen. In the top left, you have what I believe is your magic-based ability, which we'll talk about in a moment. To the right of that, you have your stat-based boosts. In the bottom left, you have your character-based boosts, which seem to focus around mostly what your character is good at. And finally, at the center bottom, you have the one that I'm not sure about since I don't understand Japanese. But if I had to guess, I'd say it probably has something to do with high tension, which we'll also talk about in a moment, or perhaps it has something to do with passive abilities. Now let's look at the actual combat of the game. Here you can see in the bottom left of the screen is the majority of your UI. You can see your character's face down there with a green bar being your health, blue being your magic, yellow being your experience bar, and the far left being your tension bar. Above your character, you can see your party members and their health situations, and below your character, you can see what active monster coins you have at the time. Lastly, in the top right, you can see the mini-map of the area you're in, as well as, in this particular mission, the health of the object that you're protecting. Let's start by discussing high tension. Every character has high tension, and this is indicated by the pink bar to the left of your character's portrait. Once the bar is full, you'll have the option to use a devastating move to deal massive damage to all enemies in the nearby area. Your bar will fill over time in battle, and some assist-type coin monsters can also give you some tension. And since I brought up monster coins, let's discuss them next. From what I've seen, there's 2 types of monster coins available to you, with those being defensive-type monsters and assist-type monsters. Defensive type can be called out to the battlefield and will hold a position with their life. Typically, they're good for defending certain points, obviously. Assist-type monsters can only be called out for a certain moment, and they will offer some form of assistance to you or your team. These could be something like regeneration of your health points, giving you more tension, more magic points, or just delivering a massive blow before disappearing. You can call these monsters out during combat with the D-pad, and you can have a varying total of tokens at any time. However, the tokens can only be used once in a map, and the bigger monster coins take up more monster coin slots. As for how you control your character, it's pretty standard fare. You'll use the main buttons on the controller to deliver various attacks or hitting buttons in different combinations to make your character perform various combos. You'll have the option to perform several magical attacks as well, which can be activated by hitting the R1 button on the controller and then selecting a button from the wheel that pops up to perform a magical attack. These will cost magic points but deliver a more powerful blow. After each battle, you'll be taken to a sort of hub world. In this hub world, you'll have the ability to talk to various NPCs or visit various shops, upgrading your weapons, armor, and equipment, or just purchasing helpful items. This is also where you set up your party, apply your skill points, and set up what stages you'll be traveling to next. As for the multiplayer, unfortunately, there doesn't appear to be any multiplayer in this game. There is an online aspect to it, but this only seems to apply to online updates and events in the game. For extras, I don't really have anything on this game. For systems, as I stated previously, this game has already released in Japan. It was released on February 26, 2015 for the PS3 and PS4 in Japan, Hong Kong, and Taiwan. However, now that it's making its way to North America and Europe, it will only be available on the PlayStation 4. It will release on October 13th in North America and October 16th in Europe. As for my predictions, I can't really do many predictions on the game, seeing as it's already out, and if you look deep enough, you could find out everything about the game, despite there being that language barrier. Community on this one is pretty one-sided in favor of being excited about the game. Most people are excited to get their hands on this one, and since it's a new Dragon Quest games, even though it's not really like the Dragon Quest games in the past, then you have some people who aren't interested in the Dynasty Warriors style of it, and then you have people who are excited about the game, but they have the stipulation that they're hoping that it sells well enough for Square Enix to get interested in making Dragon Quest XI soon. So to kind of wrap this up with my final thoughts, I think the game looks great. I personally have no experience with the Dragon Quest series, but what initially piqued my interest in this game was the character design by Akira Toriyama, who is the creator of the Dragon Ball series, and his style definitely shows through here as well. Overall, I think this game is going to be great for people who are fans of the Dragon Quest series, given the return of several fan-favorite characters, but those fans need to make sure that they understand and accept that this is not going to be a typical Dragon Quest game. And if you're new to the series and haven't played a game from the franchise before, then this may be a great time for you to kind of take a chance on it, because the gameplay seems pretty approachable, and this game, it's going to introduce you to some of the characters from the past. However, if you've played either Dynasty Warriors or Hyrule Warriors and you didn't like one of them, then this may not be one for you, because it is going to be very similar. Alright guys, that is pretty much all I have to say on Dragon Quest Heroes, The World Tree's Woe, and The Blight Below. The game comes out on October the 13th in North America, and I hope I was able to help you decide a little bit better if this is one you're interested in playing or not. The next game I plan on doing this with is Yoshi's Woolly World, which, like Dragon Quest Heroes, is already out in certain parts of the world, so I should have quite a bit of information on that game as well. But anyways guys, I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And I hope to see you in my next video.